Hey, Billy back here. I have my friend Adam with me.
Hello.
So basically what I want to say before we get into this is me and him are good friends, but a lot of times we have differing opinions, and there is a way to respect each other's opinions or have different opinions but still respect each other as people. So I may not agree with everything he says, he may not agree with everything I say, but at the end of the day, we're still going to be friends. We're still
Yeah,
going to put
and,
aside our differences.
and that's kind of the important part about pretty much anything in general is,
People need to get back to that.
respecting
Just
opinions.
because I don't
Yep.
agree with your opinion doesn't mean I don't respect you.
Yeah.
And I think people nowadays get so offended easily because they have differing opinions.
Hmm.
And I think we need to get back to that as a society that, you know what, instead of attacking me for my opinion, why don't you say why don't you like my opinion
Yeah.
and bring up a good point? Because we'll
Yeah.
probably do that. But I'm just wanting you guys to say we might disagree on things, but we try to keep it kind of calm.
Yeah.
So first thing I want to say is gaming brings people together. And when I got the 360 and had internet for the first time, Halo,
Oh.
Halo 3 and Reach, you brought me into this
Mm-hmm.
group called Lost at Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, what an amazing group. One of our good friends, Mono, that's he's so busy, we're so busy, but
Yeah.
that's how we keep in contact.
Yeah, on
Is we're
Xbox.
and so
Hmm.
talk a little bit about that. How important is the social aspect of gaming, do you think, to anybody? Like what do you think is important about that?
Well, gaming, pretty much as with anything else in life, is an avenue for you to connect with people and keep in touch with people as well that might have moved away from your town or, you know, anything of that nature.
Or let's say you're not feeling the best, you don't want to leave the house, we can
Yeah.
talk.
Hmm.
Okay, so having said that, what pulled you into Xbox initially?
What pulled me into Xbox is growing up, I was a Nintendo guy, then PlayStation 2 guy. But during that PlayStation 2, I had a cousin that had Xbox, and I played Gears of War with him. And then my brother had another friend that had an Xbox, and I got introduced to Halo through that. And then playing Gears of War and Halo with them. And then, like, later on, we got Halo Combat Evolved for PC before we got an Xbox. And that was a blast. So after that, I knew I had to get the 360 for Halo 3
That's
and
what pulled
stuff.
me
So
in.
yeah.
Halo 3, man.
Hmm.
I hadn't saved up for PS3 and I saw a trailer for Halo 3 and I'm like, I gotta get this game.
Yeah.
And Halo has always been like my thing. I'm excited for Halo Infinite, and I know, let's be honest, after Halo 3 and Reach, 4, I felt like the story was good, but it didn't feel quite like Halo, if that makes sense. How do I say it? It was Halo, but like 5 I liked a little bit more with the
Hmm.
story. And I feel like Infinite's going to be great. But at the same time, at what point do you say we can keep making sequels or we could try something new? Do you think, in your opinion, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, do you think companies should get away from sequelitis, or do you think we should see more new ideas? Basically, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Well, let me go back for a minute and say that
Yeah.
I completely disagree with Halo 4 and 5.
Okay.
I thought 4's story was a lot more kind of back to Halo, but at the same time, I there were parts of it that didn't feel
Okay. The
Halo.
multiplayer didn't feel like Halo. That's what it felt like. Call of Duty more.
Yeah,
5
but
felt more like Halo. I
for
thought.
multiplayer, yeah.
Okay.
For campaign, Halo 4 felt a lot more Halo. Um,
Okay.
it just the thing that really probably threw you off and threw a lot of people off is the introduction of the Forerunners or the
Yeah.
new enemies
Yeah. It was different, and it
that
took me a while to adjust.
mm,
I still like the gameplay. I still like the mechanics. I still
yeah,
liked all that. So yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
Okay.
But so going moving on to your question about do I think they need to get away from sequelitis? Yes, yes, a million times yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love hearing that they're coming out with Halo Infinite now, and then I know that Gears of War 6 is coming, and I could be more excited for that. And, there's always the possibility now with what you and I were discussing before about Witcher getting new games.
Say
And
so. CD Projekt Red has talked to the author. I know his last name is, so I have the books upstairs, but I do know what I read. They got more. They pay. Basically, what happened was they paid him a deal back in like before they knew which one, but for a
Mhm.
very low amount of money because he didn't think it was going to sell like it did. Well, then he got mad because of how much money it sold.
Yeah.
I think it's like Andres something. But basically, what they did was they signed a new deal to where he's going to get paid for undisclosed. They paid him an undisclosed amount to make up for it, and now they're back on good terms. Because he's not a big video game fan. He's an older guy. I
Hmm.
believe he's in his 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
But they want to do more video games. So how do you feel? Would you rather see like maybe a series game, or maybe you pick your own school? Or I would like to see both at some point eventually. I like the idea of playing a series, but I also think it'd be cool to play either as a Witcher or maybe a sorcerer. Like there's a lot of different ways they could go
Yeah,
with
like
this.
if they did the other route, it would almost have to be in like an MMO aspect, which I'm not
I don't.
entirely
What made Witcher was
sure.
story.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm not
want to see an
entirely sure I
MMO.
want to see an MMO, but at the same time, I'm not sure I don't.
What about an
Like,
RPG with more MMO options where you with the class creation, but then also once you pick, it actually determines how the
or
RPG
actually,
goes.
better than that, heck, this is going back to older games. Older, but also kind of newer. Like Skyrim does it, so I guess I really shouldn't say. Well, even that's getting up there in age.
Actually, yeah. As we're getting older, you look back on the
Yeah,
game,
it's like,
like
oh,
that
that just
was
came out a few years ago. No, that's like probably closing in on
8 to 10. Would it be?
10 or more. I think it didn't it come out. Oh, it came out 11, 11, 11, right? Skyrim.
I'm not sure, but
I know something came out in 11,
it
11,
might
11,
be.
and
It
they
might have
made a
been
big.
that. Still,
Yeah,
that's
so
8 years.
9,
9, close to 9. So it's like
closing in on 9 years.
it's funny because you can go back. I remember playing this game 3 years ago, and it's like, no, that's been 8 years. You know that, right? What?
Yeah,
Like Halo 3 has been
over 10.
what was it? 07, 08?
Yeah.
So it's been over. I was in high school. I used to go to Halo 3 parties. Okay, so let's get back. Let's get back on track here. Phil
Okay.
Spencer said,
Well, to go back, like I was kind of talking still about that Witcher thing.
Okay.
What you could do is you could have like a create your character thing, and then have that character story progress, and then at some point, most notably, you have like Fire Emblem games doing this recently with the Birthright and Conquest, and now with Three Houses. I'm guessing I haven't played Three Houses yet. Really want to, but you have these stories that start off in different areas and then start going towards an area where all the stories combine.
so the
So that
replayability would be really high though, because you could start as
Mhm.
this class, as this class. You could play different
Yeah.
classes, have different stories.
Going back to Fire Emblem Birthright and Conquest, actually, and there ended up being a third game in that series, but I fell out after because you have one side that are these like more European style,
Okay.
and then the other side is more Japanese style with like samurais and
Wow.
stuff.
Very interesting.
And what happens is one side says that you're their child, or you're the child of their people, and the other side says you're our family because you've been with us.
Okay, that's cool.
And
I like
so,
that.
like at the start, like if you started with Birthright, or what? Yeah, Birthright. You start with the like Japanese side, and you find out that you are actually, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while since I played this. You're like the child of the other side,
Okay.
or like somebody from the other side, and you know those guys as well. Those guys want you back.
That sounds cool.
So like on the other side, you're kind of playing in reverse of that.
Okay. I actually like that idea. And that
Mhm.
would be very cool to see them implement that in some way to Witcher.
Yeah. So
Okay.
something like that in Witcher would be really cool. Is like if you started out as say like the School of Snake, and you find out that your friend ended up being a wolf or something like that, then I'm not exactly sure how they do it with Witcher, but they'd find a way. I have a feeling
I
they
think,
would
yeah.
probably be pretty good.
Okay.
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 So, yeah.
So what I was saying was there were some high points and low points for the Xbox One.
Oh yeah.
360 was great. I'm gonna say this. The 360 was awesome. The one, I think what the Phil Spencer said, he said they realized they rushed a lot of games. They rushed a lot of
Mhm.
studios. They are going to give them as much time as they need, and they are planning on doing exclusive every 3 months. there are good and bad things about that. That's 3 games. That's 3 game. What 3, 6, 9, 12. That's about 4 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
unless something gets delayed, which, as we're saying, that's okay.
for quality purposes.
Yeah, going back to Nintendo here, you have.
Nintendo was the secret console winner, in my opinion, for this gen.
Definitely, yeah. But I'm trying to remember who it was, and I don't want to sound stupid and say, but there is somebody on Nintendo, I believe it was one of the presidents, that said that a delayed game is eventually good. A rushed game is bad forever.
Anthem. You might not be able to reverse that damage when you rush a game like that. So our high points: Sunset Overdrive had a core fan base. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was wacky. It was fun. It was my type of game.
Unfortunately, we're not going to see a sequel because
they should have put it on both consoles. Honestly, Okay, you had Halo 5 Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Great game. You had Gears 4, Gears 5. Both I thought took the game, especially 5, in a bold new direction. I really liked the way they did it. It still felt like Gears, but also we're going to try new things. We're also getting a new Battletoads.
Oh, yes.
What else? So Rare's doing more stuff. Ori and the Blind Forest is here's the thing. Xbox was really good with the indie games. We had a few, Ori and the Blind Forest.
There's something I want to say about the indie games, like calling them indie games. Yeah, they're by independent developers, and yeah, they're lower budget, but at what point do we say like games like Ori and the Blind Forest and
they become
the new sequel
eventually?
When do you no longer consider those to be indie games? And like,
I would say,
I mean,
some
they're
games
not
like that make it big, and they, like you said, they're no longer really an indie game. They're more of a first party.
Yeah, even though they are still being developed by these once considered independent developers, indie developers.
I would say when they have what I call their breakthrough moment and they hit the budget of a AAA title.
Yeah, games like Hollow Knight as well is another
big surprise that came out of the game announcements was we are finally going to see a dead game from a dead studio come.
Which one?
That is Telltale Games with The Wolf Among Us Season 2.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
And I felt like out of all the low points and high points, Telltale Games had it. Like, and this is your opinion, and there's not a right thing about this. I love Telltale Games. However, he brought up a very valid point. After a while, those story-driven games that are the same and don't upgrade their engine, really just after a while, they kind of lose their appeal. And I even found myself later into the Walking Dead games. I liked the story, but they needed to evolve, and they did not. And that is why I believe they closed.
Well, they don't really need to evolve per se, but
what do you think they should have done in order to stay open? What would have made Telltale maybe stay as a studio? Because I love Wolf Among Us.
The problem about Telltale is it's not really a lot of their games, they do have gameplay elements.
Yes.
But the gameplay isn't necessarily the focal point.
It's not. The story is.
They're not as much games as they are interactive movies in a sense.
I played Game of Thrones. I played Wolf Among Us. I played Walking Dead. I played the Borderlands 1. There's multiple.
And I'm guessing that even though there were probably some differences that go along with the universe, the core gameplay was pretty much the same because it was less.
Like if an enemy was coming, you had to hit the analog stick to the right or left to dodge, and then you hit them.
Yeah.
Wolf Among Us being my favorite because you're Big B, the sheriff, Big Bad Wolf, and it's opposite where he's the good guy and the huntsman's the bad guy. Yeah. And you're working with Snow White. All these fairy tale characters are poor. They're brought to the modern everyday world. A lot of them are prostitutes. And if they speak, they die. They have a ribbon around their neck. When it's pulled off, their head comes off. And like Ariel the mermaid is, well, not Ariel. Like it's funny because you see Faith's head, and then later at the end of the game, Faith is alive somehow. So it was really good. And there's Ichabod Crane was a creepo who went after Snow White, and it's just this whole fairy tale world, but it's like brought into our modern society. Okay, so going forward, what does Xbox need to do to come out swinging? They're coming out with Halo Infinite at launch. I think that's a bold move, but they need to say, we are going to go new games. We are going to do something different than what we've done before.
Halo Infinite at launch is a bold move because on the one hand, it's a relatable title from the developer. I mean, heck, look at Nintendo. You've got Nintendo coming out swinging with games like Legend of Zelda and stuff like that. I mean, maybe they don't come out right away, but there's news about them from the Switch's launch.
That's what makes Nintendo powerful. They give the fans what they want. We
Mhm.
want more Smash Brothers. We want more Mario. We want more
Well,
Zelda. Here it is, but we're
and-
going to also change it.
And something else they do right is, as you just said, they change up the formula enough to where it's still fresh. You have
Breath of the Wild, I played a little bit of that, and I barely scratched the surface of that game. And
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
god, it's amazing. It was like, wow, this is. And Witcher, I felt like, oh my god, this is new. This is a breath of fresh air. So sequels can still be innovative
Mhm.
and still stick to their core like fan base. They can still
yeah,
give you what you want, but give you things you didn't know you wanted.
yeah. But
And
I think a lot of AAA developers now need to start looking at that, like looking at what makes Nintendo so successful with their, like with Mario and Zelda, and heck, even Pokemon Sword and Shield just came out, and though there was controversy with that, it still ended up being a success.
So right out of the gate, Microsoft said the biggest thing is they don't want to be too expensive with their console because the Xbox One was like $100 more expensive, I believe, than
Mhm.
the PlayStation at launch. Their plan is to try to give a competitive price to where people are going to be able to buy the console still.
Yeah,
Because the Xbox Series X is next gen 2020. Between October and December is our launch window. Um, I may hold back for a while just because a lot of new consoles have bugs they have to fix.
that plus if you look at the launch titles, I mean, yeah, as you said, Halo Infinite's coming out, but
It's also going to be on the
what
one.
else is
It's
there?
also going to be on the one.
Yeah.
For a while. They're still going to support the one. So my thing is, I may hold back for a year.
Yeah,
To wait till 2021. To
wait
buy
till
a
the
console.
bugs are fixed. Wait until
More titles are available.
Yeah.
Because I find myself gaming less, and I think part of it is I would rather do this, talk in person. We're getting into D&D a little bit now, which is fun. Going to see movies, stuff like that, being more social. So
Yeah.
I don't find myself gaming as much as I used to. I still watch Netflix a lot,
yeah,
and but part of it is I think a lot of these games were hyped, and then it was like, man, that wasn't as good as it could have been.
yeah. It's like that was
Even Borderlands, and I hate saying this, but even Borderlands felt like that in some ways. Maybe it's because I've played Borderlands 1 and 2, and I felt like 2 was spectacular.
For me, I can nail down exactly what's wrong with Borderlands 3 for me.
I still overall like the game. Okay, let me say that. I still like
same.
But
I liked it.
But 2, I think, was the pinnacle of Borderlands.
Mhm.
They reached their height.
What happened is they tried to play it too safe, and they worked too much on launch on balancing everything.
And they nerf a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Which
like,
Borderlands, you're supposed to feel overpowered, right? Am I right?
that's what I felt. Like
Yeah.
during Borderlands 1 and 2, yeah, nerfs happened, but they weren't nerfs that completely ruined builds or ruined guns.
Because you still
It was-
had challenges.
Mhm.
Like, killing Crawler Max was still a challenge in the first one. Even if you were OP, you could still be killed.
But my fundamental problem with Borderlands 3, and it's something that, because of them saying they don't plan on adding any new Vault Hunters, is something that's going to remain a problem. My problem is the Vault Hunters feel really bland, really samey, really generic shooter.
Do you
Base
feel
characters.
like you can almost, with a game like that, the expectations are always so high.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that in some ways, after you've done 1 and 2, that for 3, it was like, man, they've already done so much. What else can they do new? And one thing I did like, we left Pandora.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was still more they could. I started playing the new DLC. I will say the Moxie's DLC.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say so far, it is a breath of fresh air. They did go a different direction, with still having some Moxie in there and without spoiling it, other past characters. So the DLC gives them a chance to explore, but it's like, I agree with you. I wonder, did they play it too safe with Borderlands 3, with the main story? I mean, it took a different direction, different twist.
Well,
I didn't
not
see
really with
coming.
the story, with the
Yeah.
characters and gameplay in general. It felt like it was too safe.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Like Borderlands.
At first, I would have said no, but after you told me a few things and I played a little more, I'm like, after I got towards the end of the story, the gameplay, even at higher levels, doesn't. I mean, they did add what's it called, Mayhem mode.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult. But at the same time, it kind of felt like they're like, oh, hey, look, there's this game Destiny that has modifiers on their strikes and stuff, and that makes it harder. Let's do this with Borderlands. And no, they didn't need to do that.
Overall, I still thought it was a great game, but in some ways I was underwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
It was like, man, this isn't a lot different.
And
And if you just wanted more Borderlands, I even read a lot of reviews said, if you wanted more Borderlands, then this is perfect for you. So it satisfied my craving for Borderlands, but I wanted a little bit more.
At the same time, I feel like it didn't even satisfy my craving for Borderlands because, as I said, with the characters themselves, it was too generic shooter kind of.
Did it feel like a Borderlands 2.5 then, maybe, to you, rather than a Borderlands
It didn't even
3?
feel like a Borderlands 2. It felt like a Gears of Halo Theft Auto 5. Going back to that joke. Like that's an old internet joke.
Yeah, it is.
But it definitely felt like a Gears of Halo Theft Auto 5. It really didn't feel like it brought anything new or anything exciting to the table. I mean, you have Moze, which pilots a mech. Okay, that would have been cool if we didn't have the same thing in Titanfall and Titanfall 2.
Okay, okay.
I mean, yeah, it's new to Borderlands, but at the same time, they didn't really make the mech that interesting.
Okay, so we did get kind of off. We did go to Borderlands. We talked about a little bit of everything. Sea of Thieves was another game that came out on the Xbox One.
Yeah, and it's had a really rocky history, but now I hear it's doing really well. I really want to play it more. I don't have time
I only
to.
played it once with you, and what little I did play, I actually thought it was fun. It was different.
It is fun.
But what do you think going forward? Are there any types of games you would like to see? I would like to see maybe another space game, but different than Mass Effect. Something fun that's story-driven, like a space exploration game. Like, I'm getting that urge to play. I want something different in general, I guess. I don't want a sequel. I want something innovative and groundbreaking.
Well, I think something that you're more so wanting, like just hearing what you're saying, is...
I want more Witcher experiences and Tomb Raider experience where it's different.
You're wanting more open world stuff that has a good story to it.
Yeah, I'm not into multiplayer anymore. I'm at the age where, no, not that age, I shouldn't say, but I'm more at let me put it this way. I'm more at the thinking of, I don't want another Fortnite. I don't want to, I want something that pulls me into story. At this point in my gaming days, I'm past the point of multiplayer only games. I want story. I'll play multiplayer, like in Halo. I'll play multiplayer after I've played the story, but I want story-driven games more than anything. And not, I'm out of Telltale now. I don't want that singular story.
Yeah, you don't want a story that's too story and not enough game. You want one that's like a really good balance.
I played Witcher 3 times. I'm not afraid to say that.
I need to play it more than just the once that I played
because it pulled me in. Geralt is and we'll probably do another video down the road of the Witcher review.
Oh yeah,
on the Netflix show. We watched the first episode, and now I want to watch episode 2. But I think so. Okay, overall, where does Xbox need to go to be a successful next gen console compared to to be good? And I hate this idea of we have to have the console wars. Play whatever you like. I play Xbox because that's where my friends are. I'm going to stay with Xbox because that's where my friends are. But where does Xbox need to go to be successful just for itself? Do you think they need to quit worrying about what the other parties are doing and just focus on what do our fans want? What should we do for our fans?
Not only what do the fans want, because sometimes the fans don't know what they want. They need to worry about what they want and stop worrying about, what's Sony doing? What can we do to rival Spider-Man or God of War?
Okay,
because to me,
beat yourself. That sounded so wrong. But like basically top your own performance. Hey, we did this. Let's do something even better. And basically you're competing. If you compete against yourself rather than Nintendo and PlayStation, because there's a lot of partnering going on now. What if Xbox said, we are going to try to one-up ourselves with each game. We are going to try to just make ourselves better studio overall. Basically, we want to up what we did on the Xbox One. We want to basically do things. By the way, the new Xbox, every past gen is backwards compatible. They did say that. You'll be able to play all gens. So my thing is, instead of them focusing on let's beat PlayStation, let's beat Nintendo, what if they just say we just need to outdo ourselves and try to constantly raise the bar?
That's one thing.
Okay.
Second thing is they need to try and figure out. They need to get back in touch with what people want. Yeah, there's a market for indie. Yeah, there's a market for this, and yeah, there's a market for that. But if you just keep appealing to those markets like indie sports
Oh
games,
my god, I
that
hate internet trolls so much.
why?
Like, because with this topic, you have a lot of actual Xbox fans. And then you have a lot of people that are trolls, like on the forums and
Hmm.
stuff, where, oh, I want this, and they give you that, and they find something else to complain about. And
Oh
it's just a
yeah,
non-stop vicious
yeah,
cycle. So your
but
true fans are going to keep buying those games.
yeah.
I hate internet trolls because I know you put up with a lot of that crap, and I never got into
Hmm.
that audience like the Destiny forums.
Oh yeah.
But so just basically, wait, go ahead and keep saying what you were saying.
I am saying that, to be honest, sports games.
I'll play them a little bit, but not very
I'm
much.
starting to think that we're getting to that point where we don't really need them anymore. Yeah, they sell because there is a market for them,
I'm gonna agree with this.
but let's not make Madden NFL 2K21 or 2K20, whichever one
What
is not out yet.
what if they did
What if
basketball one year, football one year, and it's like because absence makes you want it more. What if it was every 2 to 3 years
that's
rather than
one
every
thing,
year? Same thing with Call of Duty.
but um, yeah, that's one thing they could do. But another thing they could do is stop worrying about it being realistic.
That's the idea. Is like when you're playing a baseball game, you're trying to break the home run record. Okay, make that destination fun. Make the journey fun. That's why
Hmm.
MLB the show is still going and 2K baseball's not. Is like
Yeah,
I play with Dusty and I play. We have a franchise going, and it's easy to
or
hit.
yeah,
It's
like
ridiculous. It's fun
if you
though,
do want to do this
and the
whole,
broadcasters are better.
if you do want to do this whole, okay, we're going to keep coming out with sports games, which, as I said, there's an audience for it, so that's perfectly fine. Make it to where the creative character modes, like especially in baseball, make it to where that's kind of more the focal point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Make it just more fun. Like when Dusty's playing his guys, the broadcasters are really fun. They'll say, "Hey, he's there at the 100th career homer," or "Hey, he's now at 700," and they'll kind of count down to breaking the record. Whereas with the game I have, I'm still playing 2K13 on 360,
Yeah,
which is the last one they made. But it's like they say the same stuff over and over. So take your time, make it more dynamic, and don't make it as realistic because that's the idea. Is you're playing a video game.
mm-hmm.
It's not supposed to be realistic. And I
Yeah,
think sometimes the graphics, I have no problem with them keeping that realistic, but make the gameplay more fun.
yeah,
Like, okay, I'll give you an example. In his game, if you use the same pitch, like on the 360, it would show yellow and red like you use that pitch too much. In his game, it doesn't do that. You use whatever pitch you want as many times as you want. Because
mm-hmm.
like Bob Gibson only has 3 pitches. If he was on the 360, after a couple of innings, you couldn't use any of his pitches; they become obsolete. In that
Yep,
game, we had a perfect game with him twice in there because yeah, you make it fun. The idea is if studios keep doing sequels and they never change anything, eventually I'm gonna quit playing those sequels.
yeah,
So make it ridiculous, make it a little bit different, make it fun. What I want something that is unique, that changes, that pulls me, and needs to be dynamic. The world's ever changing. Why shouldn't gaming?
yeah,
Cyberpunk's an example. They're dynamic. It's CD Project Red. It's like that studio right there, just that name and how much they put into it. It's like I want to play it.
yeah. So I'm going to kind of shift gears here.
Yeah,
We
go
were just
ahead.
talking about sports games. I kind of want to hit on like a couple of the major topics and tell you what I think each of
Okay,
them could
go
do.
for it. We up. Yeah.
Shooters next.
Let's talk about shooters. I
Yeah.
think a lot of places do it too safe.
Well, as you said with Call of Duty, they need to stop releasing every year.
From what I understand, they have 3 different studios, and
Mm-hmm.
this studio releases a game, say 2020, the next one. But absence may. Okay, let me give you an example. This is not a game related, but Mountain Dew when they came
Mm-hmm.
out with the gamer fuel.
Yeah.
You would have it. You didn't know how long it would be around. So everybody buys it because it's not available every day. When
Mhm.
something's in front of you every day, that's like with Europe, alcohol. You can have it at a younger age. When it's there every day, it's not being a rebel. It's no longer cool because you're not doing the rebellious thing. It's available to me every day. I don't want it as much. But
Yeah.
when it comes out, say, one time for 3 months a year, everyone's like, I got to buy the hell out of this till it's sold out. And then it's gone for a year or two.
Mhm.
And then you miss it more. When you keep coming out with a sequel every single year, eventually it's kind of like when I see a Fast and the Furious trailer, I'm like, please make it stop. It's the
Yeah.
same with me with Call of Duty
And
now.
I feel like they've done too much now with Call of Duty.
I think
Like there's nothing more they can do. They're getting to the point where they're re-releasing, and they re-release Call of Duty Modern Warfare. At what point do you say enough is enough? And
I
you're
think
not
they're
going to
at
get to
that
that
point now. I've never
Like,
bought a Call of Duty.
well, here's what I think they need to do: make one last game that they can just keep supporting, or make one game that they can keep supporting for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Have all three companies work together on it. I don't know
That's a
how
good
possible
idea.
that'd be. I'd like for it to be possible. Have all three of them
I
co-make
like it. I like it. And then you could
and
say in
have
5 years, hey, we're going to bring out one new Call of Duty per gen.
yeah, and basically have that be the norm for other shooters moving forward. Release one game, support it. Destiny 2 right now.
It's a money grab. That's what it is.
Yeah, Destiny 2 right now. You've got what they're doing. Everything became free to play unless you want the season pass content.
Let me just say, after the divorce, they've called it in gaming, I believe Destiny is actually heading in the right direction.
I do as well. Other people would disagree, but hey.
Destiny, I think. Destiny, I think.
Yeah, I would disagree that it's.
I think it's always been a good game. You've always had your core audience, but I believe they needed to do their own thing in
Yeah.
order to keep it going.
They
for
needed to
their
do that from
fans.
the get go.
Exactly.
Because now people aren't sure if what they're doing now is what they would have done all along, or if it's because of what they're doing after they no longer have to rely on Activision.
But I think in gaming, also another thing we're seeing is nostalgia. A lot of remakes, a lot of remasters. Eventually, that needs to stop as well.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many. Like, it was cool they did the Spyro thing because they actually updated it.
Oh yeah.
But like, we're seeing way too many remastered games, and I think they're overdoing it with the remasters. They remastered all the Bioshocks. They remastered the Batman games. I believe didn't they remaster Dark Souls? Some of them.
The first one.
The first one, okay.
Yeah.
But like a really old game, like if they wanted to go remaster the original Dragon Age, okay. But at some point, it's like we got to see new stuff.
Yeah.
There's too much remastered.
But here's the thing: I think that's coming into the. They're afraid of. Okay, so what if we release this and it's bad and nobody wants to buy it? They know it's safe because it pulls on nostalgia.
Sequels and remaster. Right now, we're in a big nostalgia period.
Let me say this: game companies need to just stop playing it safe in general.
Thank you. That's
Everybody's
why I'm getting bored, I think, is because a lot of game companies are doing what's safe and making another sequel rather than say, you know what, we have the budget, we have the name with our studio, like CD Projekt Red, the Cyberpunk. Let's do something completely innovative and completely different.
But you're running into a problem there where a lot of the innovative and unique ideas are starting to run dry.
That's also true.
Like, at what point do you no longer have this? Okay, as far as shooters go, how many more shooters can you make with something new before it's, this is just a clone of this?
Yeah, you always hear comparisons of, this game's like this and this combined. And you do get to where you're going to run out of innovative shooters because there's so many shooters now.
Yeah.
So I do think they need to have different genres and subgenres come about to keep it fresh. Because at some point it's like I played 100 shooters in my gaming days. How many of those really stand out as being above the rest or different than the rest? So I'm agreeing with you on this. I think I like Tomb Raider. You have the bow and arrow. You have the open world part of it. That's what's going to set apart a game. I think it's going to be story. For gamers, they were actually doing a poll. For gamers like our age, it's more about story. For younger people, it's more about multiplayer. So at what point do you say we need the balance of both worlds to bring everybody into this? Or do you think it's the target audiences are going for once again?
I think it's the target audiences. But I'll say this. I think the whole younger generation playing multiplayer games, that's because they didn't have really... Like, for a while there, we were kind of in a gray zone. We didn't have any good multiplayer games coming out or really good first-person games coming out. Like, there were a few that were okay, but... And then Fortnite came out, and that was basically the big bread and butter for shooters for a while. Love it or hate it, you can't...
I can't deny its success.
Yeah.
I mean, all that money they've made, there's something to that formula. It's working.
And
what about Battle Royale, though? Battle Royale, what do you think about that?
Battle Royales in general, that genre?
It's starting to get a little bit clustered, I think.
Not really. Every game that comes out that's a Battle Royale actually has its own niche, and that's kind of
true.
Cool.
PUBG was different.
PUBG was like the most realistic of them that came out.
Do you think it'll be oversaturated like the zombie crowd eventually?
I hope not.
Do you think it will?
I hope they don't get to that point because, oh boy, wallets will be hurting. Wallets are already hurting, but yeah. Not my wallet,
Because
but
I know we're going to be seeing Dying Light 2 here soon, and
Yeah.
it's going to be more politically based, where there's going to be more decisions.
Mhm.
So do you like that idea of maybe we're going to do subgenres of popular genres kind of thing? You're good.
I say let's just have not genres and subgenres, but as you said with Dying Light having political aspects, have it affect something for God's sake. Have it affect something irrevocably.
So your
Like
decisions
Witcher.
mean something.
Yeah.
Witcher has so many different endings.
And you know what? That's what I love about games like Man of Medan, and that's one of the few things that I do like about Telltale games is your actions do have consequences.
I think Telltale should have kept it dynamic. Don't make each game the same. Change it a little bit. Change the formula.
And maybe be story based, but instead of having it be like cutscene and you're watching, oh now you need to do something, and now you need to do something. Have it be you're playing through and somebody's talking to you while you're walking around this room, like with Wolf Among Us. Like actually, let me draw a better example of a game that actually does this.
Okay.
L.A. Noire came out.
Yes.
And you would walk around and be investigating, and you'd have somebody talking to you about what's going on, and you'd be discovering this stuff as you're playing. So then that way you're actually still playing and still getting the story fed to you as well at the same time.
So would it be like an intel kind of thing? Like a detective game comes to mind where it's like, hey, this is what we know, and then you're also fighting or searching while you're being talked to. So there's just more going on? Is that what you're like, just more happening?
Yeah, more gameplay while you have this story going on.
It's not just sitting there and watching, it's active story. Where you're actually playing while you're hearing all this stuff.
Like going back to LA Noire, you know, as you said, I want to see a new detective game where you're in this house that's burnt down. Yeah, this cop probably talking something like this, you know. Wow, actually, I just threw 5 different accents together. Wow, okay.
That was awesome.
But yeah, see, you have a cop here talking like this to you, and you see what we found here? We found that this guy here might have started the fire because we found this crumpled up paper here. It's partially burnt. Found a lighter. You think that that's what's going on? And you go over, you take a look at the paper. You see it's like, oh, well, this is a, you know, divorce settlement or something that, oh, there's more to this than what meets the eye. This wasn't just an arson case. The guy wasn't in it for his own. And I would love to see games where that kind of stuff would happen, where you go in, find out that things aren't exactly what they appear.
Okay. That's actually really cool. So do you think what's going to drive the next gen is going to be innovation? Change is what's going to bring players in? Or do you think I think we're going to see some sequels like Gears, Halo, where they play it. But I think with all the new studios, I believe it's like 13 different studios Microsoft has acquired. I think we're going to start seeing new stuff. I really do.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a few sequels and new things.
Here's one of my problems. Are they going to market them as indie like they have been with the developers they pick up? They pick up indie developers and they still consider them indie?
I hope not. I want to see
entire lifespan.
I want to see new AAA titles.
I want to see them throw money at these indie developers and see what they can really do. Throw manpower at them.
I know one of the groups is called like Mojang. I forget the names
Minecraft.
of all. Yeah, they're going to be doing more. Yeah, they're going to be doing more exclusive stuff.
I've seen some of the new exclusive stuff they're doing, and it's more of the same.
Yeah, but I was reading Game Informer. I don't have the copy on me right now. I have it in my room. But there was news titles announced that are new, not sequels, like never before been done, like new games coming out.
Okay.
So, but the thing with E3, I will say this, they didn't show a lot. And to me, that was a good thing because that says they're behind closed doors developing stuff. So they're not
with
rushing
E3,
this
they
stuff.
didn't say a lot.
They're not rushing stuff.
Yeah. But at the same time, at least give us some stuff that you've got in pipes. Like, what are some ideas you're having? That way you can get a gamer feedback. Hey, this sounds like a great idea. And it could have prevented another disaster like what we saw with Scalebound.
So maybe not showing trailers to pressure the studios, but saying, hey, we have this studio's working on this. They're going to talk about, but we're not going to show anything because we don't want to rush them.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like, hey, this is an idea we've had. We're in early development. What do you guys think as an audience, as a fan base, and kind of get some feedback.
Gauge by the audience.
Like the Diablo disaster. Oh, do you guys not own cell phones?
Yeah.
It was like a cell phone kind of game they were talking about, and the fans were just. Quinn, do you know anything about that?
I know far more than I would ever like to know about Diablo.
Because I feel like the fans were highly disappointed with the announcements and very underwhelmed.
All right, I'm going to talk about this. I may as well walk over.
Yeah, come on in, because you know a lot about gaming. I respect your opinions.
I know a lot about Blizzard.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to stand back here.
Yeah, get in here, because I need your opinion on Diablo, because I know very little about it, so please inform us.
For Diablo Immortals, the situation they're talking about, which was last year's BlizzCon. Oh, here comes Minnie. Essentially what happened is they kind of baited most of their fans. Anyone who is a Blizzard fan probably already knows about this, but just so we get it on the record. They talked about, the new game they've been working on, how they kind of wanted to take it in a new direction. A lot of the fans were not happy with the art style of Diablo 3. They weren't happy with the guild house, buying and selling of items for real-world currency, among a myriad of other items. The DLCs that came out for Diablo 3 were better, but it still wasn't the same. And then they came out with Diablo Immortals, which was essentially made for the Chinese market, which phone games are getting better. I'm not going to say that they're not.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still kind of a fledgling marketplace, and a lot of the more, I don't want to use the word hardcore gamers, but there's really no better word for it. People who buy games and play them, quite often, 15 to 20 hours a week would probably be a good metric for that. The really big Diablo fans who are there pretty much just for Diablo, as Billy said, were not happy about it. Had they released as it's going to be released on phone, and it will be like a supplemental game in between Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, which was announced this year, probably wouldn't have been nearly as big of a problem as it ended up being. But whenever it came out that it was just for phones, and probably one of the biggest problems is that BlizzCon it's supposed to be an event, like they tout this every year. It's an event for the fans. It's funded and supported by the fans, and it's supposed to be there as a celebration of everything that Blizzard stands for. All of the fans that have poured into the community and the events. And Hearthstone's actually good. Before the Blitzchung incident, but Blizzard's been on a downhill slide for the last couple of years, and it did not go over well. Diablo 4 is helping with that. I will say probably the Diablo 4 reveal trailer, probably one of the best things Blizzard's ever come out with. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, they're trying to claw their way back, and honestly, if they really want to get fans on their side, they just need to take the department that makes all their trailers, give them $150 million, and just you guys make movies now. That's all you do. And go make movies, and everyone would be really happy.
I'd go see them.
Yeah. Okay, so having said that and segueing off that, we saw a lot of studios, I believe, make mistakes, not listen to their fan base, EA being one of them, which they're notoriously known that. But
Is it a mistake, or is it just a business philosophy at this point? If it's once or twice, yeah, sure, that's a mistake. At this point, it's years of doing this. It's not a mistake anymore.
Yeah,
that's just how they
agree
operate.
with that.
Yeah,
that's how they operate.
So, how do you think studios for the next gen, what do you think they need to do to keep their fans happy, or decisions that should be made to kind of bring new fans in? Really, because I'm seeing a lot of studios not listening to their fans.
Any studios obviously EA, but EA is kind of the big name. Well, EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda now with all the Fallout 76 problems that they've got going on.
I heard that was a disaster. Is that how that is?
And it got worse.
It's an ongoing disaster.
I heard it takes forever to find, if you're trying to mute someone in the chat.
That's not what happened during the free weekend, right?
No,
they released.
No.
So what happened during the free weekend is it was a thing on Steam, and they do this with a bunch of different games. They'll have, as the name implies, a free weekend where you can create a brand new account, download the game, play it for the weekend, try it out, no strings attached. Once the weekend's over, you can get rid of it or you can buy it or whatever. The problem is that the basis that Fallout 76 is built on is it's essentially just Fallout 4. the engine that runs 76 is Fallout 4. They swap. It's a paint swap.
Yep.
And people were spawning in the NPCs from Fallout 4. They spawned in the Pridwin, the giant blimp that the Brotherhood of Steel flies in. They were popping in full assets, and they were creating legendary weapons that had multiple effects more than they should have had. So the normal amount of effects you're supposed to have on a legendary weapon is 3 maximum. I think there are some ways to like get random drops to swap around. I don't play Fallout 76, so someone who's a little more experienced would know more. But they were having, I think, up to 5 on every item, and it wasn't like the normal guns. It was just about anything that they wanted to. On top of that, they had an issue beforehand where people lost a bunch of items out of their subscription boxes, which it was supposed to be an infinite storage. And because of how they implemented it, people would log on and log off, and their items would disappear out of their box. So to offset this, what they did is they created an asset in Fallout 76 that is a box that contains hundreds and hundreds of all of the items that people could have potentially lost, and they handed them out. And it's not a one-time item. Because it's an asset in the game, the hackers can get that and create an infinite number of them.
Oh my gosh.
And it has all the blueprints, every possible craftable material you would need for these items, and they put it onto these free accounts, and because it's not their main account, they just moved it over to their hacked accounts.
Oh, it sounds like a train wreck.
Well, it got even worse than that because the items in Fallout 76 that people are verifiably hacked, like with like 5 abilities, those ones they got rid of no problem. They shut it down for a day, and that's fine. The problem comes where the 3-star weapons that have different modifiers, it's very hard for their team to decide, okay, was that something they created or is that something they got from random drop? And the problem they run into is obviously you can't just go and ban all of them, because then you're going to be banning all the players who actually went through and did the work to get all those items.
500 players that still play the game.
And there's more than that. There's actually an entire role-playing community in Fallout 76 who create their own quests.
Huh.
Oh, that's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's an entire website. There's like a guild leader. He sets the quest for everyone they go out. I think there was a huge event they were actually running where they were doing a full trial for a leader of one of the rival factions of bandits. And they were bringing in like a bunch of different role players, but they were bringing in testimonies, evidence, like pictures and photos from different areas of the world, and it was supposed to be this huge event that like the players actually created. So there is a thriving community, albeit like not huge, but like they're doing stuff. Like it's not entirely dead. Like people really want to make Fallout 76 something, and Bethesda is just shooting itself in the foot.
I was about to say, it seems like every time that the community is wanting to do something with that game, the developer just comes in and does something else awful.
Kind of went off on a tangent.
That's fine.
I apologize, everyone. That's all I do. I'm tangent. Like I will take us in random places that nobody needs to go. So
we'll get there eventually.
You know what though? My opinion on gaming is not the only right. I'm wrong a lot of the time. So it's always good for me to actually be exposed to different people's opinions. So I like when you go off on a tangent, because I learn so much that I wouldn't learn from somebody else. So your opinion on gaming, since you do game, I actually respect it, because when you talk about stuff, you usually know what you're talking about. That's why I do like your opinion on games. And you too, because you have different opinions than I do. You brought a lot of points up that I wouldn't have thought of myself, and that's why I like having these discussions. And we do this all the time. But Quinn, you're probably your most games you play. What, Dota, League?
Not League of Legends so much anymore.
Okay.
I kind of got out of playing League. I played TFT for a while, and I still play TFT on and off. But
Teamfight Tactics.
Yeah, Teamfight Tactics, which the new season is a lot of fun. Absolutely crazy, but it's still a lot of fun. Definitely play a lot of Dota 2. I got into Hunt Showdown whenever it was on free weekend. That's a very good game. I play a lot of RTSs like Total Warhammer 2, Company of Heroes, Company of Heroes 2.
You're more of a PC gamer. Right? Or
more so than I used to be, but I still play a lot of. I'm pretty much PlayStation only now.
Yeah.
I still have an Xbox, but I don't have any games for it. I play a lot of Destiny 2, the new season of Destiny 2, Season of the Dawn.
Terrific.
Season of the Dawn is really, really good right now. For anyone that likes Destiny 2, if you are not in Season of the Dawn, now is the time to get into it, especially from like a lore and story perspective. For anyone that knows who Saint 14 is,
you just told me about that. I need to get back into it.
Get it?
Yeah, Saint 14 is probably the most fun out of I love Russians. Like I love Russians. Like they are just a ball. Every Russian character is a blast.
They call me the greatest Titan to ever live.
Well, I really appreciate both of you guys taking time to kind of explain your position on gaming. Quinn, in your opinion, we talked about it for next gen. What do you think the focuses need to be to kind of keep gaming a fun community that it was kind of founded on? What do you think? Where do you think next gen should go? And I don't care which console, just overall.
Like, what do you mean necessarily by founded on? Because
well, okay, not really founded. I guess to me, gaming's fun. I guess everyone's gaming's different. I play more for the story games. More than anything.
If you're talking about the things that make games fun and entertaining, I've always been a proponent of good storytelling over anything else.
Yes, me too.
So, like, I'm trying to think of a really good way to put this. Undertale would be a good example. Now, Undertale is not a huge graphical masterpiece of a game. It's a retro style, and like there's a lot of enjoyment to be had from retro style games. I'm not knocking it, but like it, if you put it next to something like that came out this year, like even Destiny's not the most graphically powerhouse of a game that there is, but it's still an absolutely breathtaking game. It's beautiful in a lot of places.
Yes, I agree.
Undertale is not beautiful in the same way. It doesn't have the same power, but it's an indie game. The story of Undertale is absolutely wonderful, and really, no matter like how bad like the gameplay or how it looks would be, it'd still be a great story. And that's really what I look for in a good quality game. I want the story to be good more than anything else, really. I can get past bad controls. I can get past graphical errors or glitches, and I can get past a lot of stuff if the story is worthwhile and it really makes me, get engaged with it.
Yeah, so a game I forgot to mention earlier. Have you played Death Stranding yet?
I've heard of that one.
I will eventually.
Okay.
The problem with Kojima games is they take about 15 years to really complete. And unfortunately for me, I'm a completionist. So
you are a completionist, because I remember, was it Dishonored? You were trying to go through and do all the different... for Dishonored 1 and 2, pretty much any game that has multiple endings, my modus operandi is I will go through and I will do a good playthrough. Then I will do an evil playthrough. Then I will do I'll do an optimal playthrough, and I pretty much try to complete the game in every possible way that I can. Like Metal Gear Solid 5. Metal Gear Solid 5 is not a game that you can do that in, because a lot of the early missions to get the S rank are gated off by items that you can't get until you've gone much further down the game. And I struggle with that. I struggle with that quite a bit. That's why I still haven't finished the game, because I have to fundamentally stop playing the game how I would want to play it, and I hate myself for it. And I kind of hate Kojima for it. Even though I absolutely love the man to death. I love everything that he's ever done. I still kind of hate him for it. But it's okay, because the game is good, and the story deserves the amount of work that I have to put into it. I'll beat Metal Gear Solid 5 eventually. I don't know when. Probably sometime in the next decade. I'd seen you playing that one night he was playing, and I thought there was a thunderstorm, but it was just the sound effects were that like convincing that I ran downstairs. I'm like, hey, we have a tornado warning. Quinn's like, no, it's just Metal Gear. I'm like,
no, it's just Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
it's just the missiles and robots and explosions. Don't worry.
Boy.
But we all play different kinds of games, and I do agree with him. For me too, I look for a better story. I've played games where maybe the graphics weren't the best, but the story took me in. And I think you said you like a little bit of multiplayer too, and I like a little bit of multiplayer too. But a good story, I can replay it over and over.
Something I love to see is less. And I know I mentioned this with the Witcher thing we talked about earlier.
Yes. Microtransactions.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, less microtransactions, but less MMO style online and more couch co-op style. Like with that Witcher game, that's something that
that would have been fun.
Couldn't really remember how to put into words. Like have a couch co-op where you have like one guy from the School of Snakes, one guy from Wolf, one guy from
That
Eagle?
would be really cool. And they could probably balance it to where the difficulty scales with more players.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea. Couch co-op is, I remember Halo LAN parties. I'm sure you did LAN parties.
And heck, even if it's not...
I did not do LAN parties. So the first time, for most of my life, I didn't even know what a LAN party was. I didn't have any idea. Okay. I remember the very first time I ever found out about what a LAN party was. I was in the Boy Scouts. I was at Camp Bunn. It was my first year that I went to the Boy Scout camp. and all the counselors all day were talking about Halo had just come out, and they're like, yeah, we'll go sit up in our tents. So all of us are getting ready to leave, and they're like, this is back whenever they had the big blocky TVs. They're carrying like 4 or 5. I think they ended up with like 8 TVs that they brought out into the middle of the woods. They've got generators hooked up.
That's
and,
awesome.
Like they're hooking like the wires running from tent to tent, and they're just like, what the hell is that? They're just like, oh yeah, we're having a LAN party. I'm like, that's what a LAN party is? That's a lot of work for a party.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Good parties are a lot of work, but
My first LAN experience was Halo 3.
Also, Camp Mill was the greatest place to get sick because they had an Xbox original in the sick bay. So if you got sick, you just went in there, you played whatever you want. They had KOTOR 1. I spent 12 hours at the camp just playing KOTOR.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I did all day.
Nice.
That's so cool.
I mean, it's like, wow, this is awesome. I should get sick more often.
Right. It's like, hey, I'm not feeling so hot. Oh, let's go. Oh man, I got to go to the sick bay.
Yeah. No, I was actually I was terrible. I was bedridden that day.
Oh,
I could not get out, but I mean, it was fine because I had KOTOR, which is like it's another one of those games that you can't really get a hold of unless you get it on Steam. But the story is still fantastic graphically, and as far as the control scheme for the game and the combat system has not aged super well. It's still good, but the story for KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 is still absolutely fantastic, and it's a joy.
okay.
Only problem with KOTOR 2 is that the game released unfinished, so if you want access to all of the finished product of the game, you have to download a mod for it. But it comes with an HD resolution pack, so it updates the graphics a little bit.
Okay. Okay, I want to close this out by kind of each of us naming games that we thought had a good story. So we were talking about story. I'm going to say Witcher 3, Tomb Raider. I highly enjoyed the Batman games.
Which Tomb Raider?
Both, I would say Rise and Shadow of the Tomb Raider I really, really enjoyed the story they took, the direction they went. Although at some points they are a little predictable, I still thought though that they were entertaining for the most part.
I'm not trying to continue where I'm just like which Tomb Raider, because I've played most of the original Tomb Raiders and these
new trilogy. The new trilogy. I never really played much, although I will say the original Tomb Raiders, I think, from what I've heard, it's more about how she looks versus the actual storytelling.
You mean the fact that she's got triangles for boobs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But story-wise, what do you consider? Okay, Final Fantasy X is another one I really liked. Just name some games that you really enjoyed the story.
Shadow of the Colossus.
That's a good one. Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was fantastic.
Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess was also fantastic.
Twilight Princess is probably my it's a toss-up between Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask are probably two of my favorite Zelda games.
Oh, yeah.
I've fallen out pretty much of all of Zelda, but those two I absolutely love.
Yeah, I love Zelda Breath of the Wild story. I love actually loving where they're going with Destiny's story now that they're finally getting into it.
They've always had good lore, though. That's the thing
Yeah.
with Destiny. They've always had very captivating lore.
But and I'm not going to say it was all Activision. Maybe the split made Bungie have to take accountability.
No, it was especially before and after the split, you can tell Activision had a huge hand in it.
I figured, I wasn't going to be that guy that's like, oh yeah, it's all.
From what I heard, they rushed the content. Like they rushed how much content they had to put out.
I know you're trying to close this out, but just
go ahead.
In case nobody knows, the big problem with the first Destiny that came out is, first of all, Activision wanted to gate off a bunch of pretty much the first two DLCs. They were supposed to be included in the base package of the game. Activision wanted to cut them into bite-sized chunks so they could sell it as DLC. About 6 months before Destiny 1 came out, Activision looked at the game and they said, yeah, this isn't going to work for us. We need you to go back and do it all again. And then in Destiny 2, literally the exact same thing happened again. They were about a year to 6 months out from the game being released. Activision came in, dropped the hammer, said, no, this isn't monetizable enough. We can't make enough money after launch from this. You're going to have to go back through and you're going to have to redo it again for us.
That's ridiculous.
Microtransactions are the name of the game.
I hate microtransactions.
Yes, you got to cut that off.
All right, we're going to eventually maybe do just a video on microtransactions and how they kind of kill gaming communities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they kill games.
Or promote elitism at the very worst.
Yeah, there was a guy that dropped like $3 or $4 into Mass Effect Andromeda. Which of all the games to drop, I'm sorry to laugh at that, but of all the games to drop that much money,
You know that there's a guy who spent $15,000 on FIFA, right?
wow,
Yeah.
Okay.
wow, that's mind blowing. Like to me, because they come out the new one every year, right? So it would be after a while, it'd be obsolete.
Every game is obsolete, even though every game is pretty much the exact same. The same thing with NBA, same thing with like the
Yeah, we
football games.
talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Trust me.
All right, guys, we're gonna end it
Yeah,
there. We're right
talk
at
to
an
you later.
hour, but I appreciate and I like hearing different opinions, and a lot of my friends have different opinions, and like I said, you can respect each other's differences and still not attack the person.
Yeah, and since you like opinions so much, why don't anybody watching this leave your opinions in the comments below?
I like that. Yeah, leave your opinions about different things we talked about, and we went on a lot of tangents today, but that's
Oh, yeah.
okay.
I am Lord Tangent. Goodbye.